Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and I'm standing outside a Triplex that we recently finished up. It is all clean now, and we're gonna go over the numbers on this one, show you the before and after video, what it looked like before, what it looks like now, talk about what it's gonna rent for, how we figured out those rents, because it is tricky. We're in a small town in northern Colorado, and there is not much for rent around here. And then talk about what it might be worth now after figuring out those rents and numbers and all of that. Now this could also be used as a house hack too, and so I'll talk about that a little bit as well. But as I walk through it, you can think about if you were to house hack, which is when someone buys a property as an owner-occupant, lives in one unit, and rents out the other units. They can get into that property with 3%, 5% down, have a low down payment. You're required to live there a year, but you live here a year, have a low down payment, get into the property. Then after that year, you can stay or rent out that other unit, keep that loan. It's a really great way to get started investing in real estate for less money. So you can think about what unit you like and which one you might want to live in if you want to house hack, and check that out. All right, love the likes, love the comments, love the support and seeing new subscribers. And we will get started here checking out this property. The neighbors are out over there, so it's a little bit weird, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So one thing we did, I forgot to mention, or maybe I just did a text over, we redid this whole sidewalk. It was just really bad, crumbling, broken. And when they took it out, there's actually another sidewalk underneath it. They just poured over, and that was $4,200. That's one thing I know they cost, which I thought was kind of high, but now that I look at it, I'm like, there's a whole lot of sidewalk. That was a pretty decent price. And some people mentioned we need a privacy fence all the way along here, which might be nice. Think about that. But here's the first unit. Now that it is clean, we can see how clean the tub is, if it got clean or not, because this tub was the nasty one. This one some people thought had cockroaches in it when we first bought it, but it wasn't. It was just like the weird leaves or in some spots in the tub. So, but this is it. Has some really cool neighbors. Let's shut my door here. We're trying to figure out how much to rent these for. That's really, really tough because there's nothing for rent in this town. We're in Platteville, Colorado, which is kind of in between Greeley and Denver. I flipped that house. I've talked about it before. And there's nothing for rent in Platteville. There's nothing for rent in Gilchrist. There's hardly anything for rent in Fort Lupton, which are the towns along Highway 85 here. I found one property for rent in LaSalle, which is kind of two houses closer to Greeley. It was a one bedroom, kind of above a commercial spot on the second floor for $1,175. So it's really tricky to figure out how much these are renting for. I know how much my other properties are renting for in Greeley, but they're slightly different areas. I feel like the closer you get to Denver, the higher rents get. So it might kind of be just a little bit of a guessing game trying to figure out prices for these properties, but we'll talk about that here soon. I think the neighbors are still yelling. Here is the tub, which has a few spots on it, but it's clean. It looks so much better than it did before. And then we kept that same vanity, but did a new mirror. So this is one unit here, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And I'm thinking about what to rent here, but I kind of want to go outside because Nikki's at the other units to make sure nothing's going on. So this is what the property looked like before, but the neighbors next door were out there smoking something, if you know what I mean, and just being obnoxious and kind of yelling at each other a little bit, but I think they calmed down now. They may have been talking about one of their cars getting stolen. I don't know. But anyway, this is what the apartment looked like before we fixed it up, right after the tenants moved out. If you remember right, it was occupied. All 3 units were occupied. They were not in good shape. The tenants were paying, I think, $650 a month in rent, plus utilities. And one tenant would collect all the rent from everyone else. The other tenants weren't even talk to us or didn't speak English. We weren't really sure on that. It was a weird situation. But we offered them money to move out, and they all did. So we gave them, we were going to give them $500 to move out, but they just wanted to move out really early, get their deposit back. We gave them their deposit back, even though they all left a lot of stuff here. But who knows what condition the property was in when they moved in there. So it could have been just as rough. But I think for rent, And this might be the best house hack unit. Not now, not in this video, but you know what it looks like now. If you were to live in one, or maybe the one in the back with 2 bedrooms, I'm not sure. But we're thinking like $1,300 a month for this 2-bedroom unit. I know it seems high, but there's nothing else for rent. It's all been remodeled. It's all been redone. It's closer to Denver than some of my other properties. And we did put a lot of money into this property, which I will try and figure out here soon. This was not a cheap property to remodel. So we're thinking that for this unit. Then we'll show you the next unit, the after one on that too, and the laundry room as well. Here is the laundry room, what it looks like now. We put the coin-op machines in. I talked more about that in my last video. And I would say the neighbors too. It just was odd at 11 a.m. on a Thursday, which is when I did this video. They're all out front. But anyway, the laundry was not nearly as nice when we bought it. It needed some work for sure. And there was lint everywhere because the dryer wasn't hooked up to the vent, or the vent was clogged, who knows. So always make sure you check those, and make sure your lint is clear, because that is one of the #1 causes for house fires. All right, so we're walking back this way to the next unit. So here's the next unit. We did obviously flooring, paint. This flooring isn't very clean. There's quite a few spots that aren't clean in here. What the heck? Did they not forget to clean this one? Everything is supposed to be clean. I almost wonder if they forgot to clean this unit. Well, that's annoying. But anyway, obviously we redid kitchens, paint, doors, flooring. Total cost, I'll try and get an estimate of that here, but it's going to be pretty expensive because there's 3 units. But we didn't have to do the roof, that's good. We didn't have to do much HVAC, that's good. We did do some windows. Not much in the way of electrical or plumbing, so that was nice. But still, costs add up when you're doing 3 kitchens, you're doing doors and everything. And you know, it's not a huge property, but having 3 units definitely adds to the cost. So this is also a 2-bedroom. This is just kind of like a closet. There's no window. And this one could be tricky to rent too, but it's pretty big. So still thinking about brainstorming what this one will cost here. I'll try and come up with that here at the end. Again, this is what this one looked like when we first bought it. Oh no, I was at the wrong door. That's right. It had a door that went into the kitchen before, so we got rid of that. But this is what it looked like when I first bought it. And these were the tenants that kind of collected rent from everybody. Obviously, very beautiful place before. And this one, I'm thinking we'll probably ask $1,300 for as well. It's a 2-bedroom, but it's got that extra room. It's a pretty big unit. It doesn't look like this anymore. So we're going to see what happens. You can see we closed off part of the kitchen, opened up into that other room that's now a bedroom. And these tenants had asked the previous landlord to fix things and do all kinds of stuff. And at a certain point, they're like, can you replace our flooring? Can you replace our kitchen? Like, it's like, we can't do all that while you're living here, unfortunately. And, you know, maybe there's crews out there who can come in and do all that work in a day, like some YouTube comments have suggested you just do. But we're not able to do that. It takes some time to get those repairs done. So it just makes sense to have the tenants, their leases were up, have the tenants vacate, we'll fix up the property, then we'll find new tenants later on. And some people complain to you, like, oh, well, are you going to charge the same amount of rent as you're charging before? It's like, no, we're spending tens and tens of thousands of dollars to fix up this property. And if I charged the same rent I was before, I would be losing money. And we're not in it to do all this work and spend all this time and money to lose money on a property. All right, here's the slab we repoured. The backyard had the big dumpster there, which they took out. It could use a little bit more cleanup too, now that we look at it. And this back unit is back here. It also has a front door too, but we've always come from the back side. And this is one we hoped we could get another bedroom in, but it just did not work out. So it's has some stuff on the floor too. It's kind of weird, but it looks so much better than it did before. And that wasn't hard to do, but it looks way, way better than it did before. Kitchen, just the flooring, cabinets. And the other, difficult thing with pricing these is some of my other units that we've rented out, and the complex, the Ocho, different properties in different towns. Some are pretty tight, real small, don't have a lot of space. They really kind of will cram 2 bedrooms in a space. It's real tight and it works and people still rent it. But these are fairly good sized, especially this one because it's just a 1 bedroom, because you have to walk through one room to get to the other. So even though it's a 1 bedroom, we might be able to charge a little more than a typical 1 bedroom because it's got this big closet / office. You've got a pretty good sized living room, a pretty good sized kitchen. So there's a lot of different things that go into pricing rentals, and it can be tricky, but the best way to know if you've priced it wrong is if it doesn't rent. Well, if you priced it too high, you priced it wrong if it doesn't rent for a few weeks. If you price it too low, that's hard to know, but we'll go over the numbers and kind of what we think rents will be here soon, and the repair costs, and what we think this property will be worth as well. And here's what that property looked like before. And I think we gave the tenants some of their deposit back on this one just because they left so much stuff. But they were living in really bad living conditions, and maybe we shouldn't have given them any of it back. But it was tricky too, not being able to communicate with them, because they communicated everything with the other tenant. And the other tenant had come in wanting us to write her a check or give her cash directly for the other tenants. We're like, nope, we're not going to do that. We'll give you a check, but it's going to be made out to the other tenants. So it was just a weird situation. But you can see the kitchen was redone. The bathroom wasn't all the way redone. It was pretty similar, but there were dead mice and different stuff in this apartment. It was not nice. And we didn't really change the floor plan very much. So, dealing with permits and counties and different things, if you start adding walls and taking down walls and changing things too much, then that can bring lots of issues there as well into play too. So that's another reason just not to go crazy tearing down structural walls and cutting through concrete and different things like that. But this one I think we'll rent for $1,100 a month. We're going to try that because it's just 1 bedroom, but it has the other room. And then we'll talk about how much this might be worth and estimate how much I spent on repairs here as well. All right, so this is one of our in the middle videos after demo, and I thought I'd show this while I talk about the numbers and bring up my trusty calculator here. So just to do some quick math on what it might be worth, I do it quick and simple. I could go much more in depth, but we're just gonna do a gross kind of rent multiplier type of thing. So if you rent it for $1,300 on the front 2 units and $1,100, I guess 1 front unit, 1 back unit, $1,100 on the side unit, it would bring in $3,700 a month in rent. It might bring in some quarter money too. I usually don't count that. That's kind of a bonus. And you can see there, this used to be a commercial business and a store back in the day. So that's what you're looking at, is like the old entrance to the store and the old ceiling up there, which was kind of cool. But anyway, I had a funny meme of the most interesting man in the world saying, I don't always buy residential rentals anymore, but when I do, they still look like commercial properties. So anyway, if we multiply this by 12, we get $44,400 in gross rent a year. Now, if you want to use net cap rate, you would subtract all the expenses, your insurance, your taxes, your vacancies, your maintenance, any utilities, things like that from that number. You get your yearly amount, and then you would multiply that. So that's a much more in-depth way to do it. I'm being lazy right now. We're just doing the gross way. Not gross like disgusting like this property when I bought it, but yeah. So we have $44,400. And if I just divide this by 0.08 as kind of like a gross rent multiplier, or you could call it the gross cap rate. Some people get mad when I do that. You get $555,000 as a value for this property. I paid $290,000 for it. And for repairs, gosh, we didn't have to do the roof. We didn't do much HVAC, just a little bit. We had to clean everything really well. It was so dirty. Cleaned all the vents out, all of that. We did kitchens. We didn't have to do too much on the bathrooms, but flooring, paint everywhere. I mean, we probably spent $70,000. That's my very scientific guess. Maybe a little bit more. So we're in it at 365, 370. Plus, if we do decide at closing costs, selling costs, it could be a very, very lucrative property. So now we need to decide, do we rent all of it? Do we leave one unit vacant so people could house hack if they want? We could even try selling it completely vacant. You never know. So there's lots of different options there. So love to hear what the audience thinks, of course. And this 0.08 gross cap rate, some people say, well, that's not the real cap rate. You have to subtract all the expenses and utilities, and you're right. A net cap rate in this area would be around 6%, maybe even less than that. So definitely the gross rent multiplier is much higher than the cap rate when you're figuring these. So, and when interest rates were lower, a year and a half ago, I would have used a 0.07 number. I've raised that number up because interest rates went up. Investors are paying a little bit less now for these types of properties. So we're not really seeing single family homes go down in value. And I don't know if we're really seeing investment properties go down, but they're not selling as much. So if you actually want to sell them, you've got to be a little bit more aggressive in your pricing. And I'm being more conservative because of interest rates as well. So that's about where we're at. That's the crazy, creepy basement that I don't know if I showed that before either. So that isn't in one of my first videos. Did I go down there? I did go down there. And of course, I'll link to these videos as well if you want to watch them in full and see all of my commentary from when I first bought it, my thoughts and discussions, and how I thought this deal would work out. All right, there you go. Love the likes, love the comments, love the shares. Keep those coming. Love seeing new subscribers as well. We'll have lots more videos coming up. My other flips that we're buying. We're buying 3 more flips here in the next couple of weeks. My businesses I'm running, the liquor store is going great. I'm buying a new businesses, the laundromat, car wash here soon. And our other 2 more flips are being bought. Some other flips are still being worked on. We'll have updates on those. And I'll have updates on the county and their hatred of me. Another property, which has even more drama going on. And so I'm just trying to decide how much or little I want to talk about that. But that's been fun too. All right, be back soon.